Hello everyone, and welcome to my presentation for my Advanced Internship in Psychology 4650. This presentation I'll be talking about my experience as a Shiloh House support line intern. Let's get started. So what is Shiloh House? Shiloh House offers a continuum of care for children, youth, and families who are working to overcome the impact of abuse, neglect, trauma, or a family crisis. Shiloh House has 7 different locations and is always looking for new buildings to expand. I worked at the Family First building shown here. There are over 60 employees. I am not positive how many there are, but I know there are at least 60 since there are so many different locations. And then Stephen and Vicky Ramirez are the founder CEOs, and they founded Shiloh House in 1985. And I was lucky enough to meet Stephen. He is a very kind person, and he was very welcoming. And I feel so lucky to be able to have met the CEO. Okay, we'll start with all the services that Shiloh House provides. The first one is residential services. So there's 4 long-term residential houses for kids 5 to 18 who have severe behavioral emotional issues. As my job as a support line intern, I had to sadly turn away many families because their children did not have these severe behavioral emotional issues. Instead, I would provide them resources for some sort of in-home therapy. Let's see. So the staff members who work in these houses all go through trauma-informed care training, which I find to be very important. And these kids stay in these houses for 6 or more months and gets them ready for transitions going back into their home or possibly getting adopted or going back into foster care. Next, we have the short-term respite. So for short-term respite, for children ages 7 to 17, it's a place for them to go when they have severe behavioral issues, emotional issues, or if there's severe safety concerns in the house and parents just don't know what to do. This also has a very extensive waiting list, and it's difficult to get into since it's always occupied. Next, we have the Shiloh House Academy, which this is actually an accredited school. It's for kids who don't do as well in the normal school setting. They have smaller class sizes and a less restrictive environment. Next, we have the outpatient therapeutic services. This was also very high demand when I was answering phones. Many families were looking for outpatient therapeutic services. And this is where Shiloh House has licensed clinicians go into the homes to help work with families on problems, providing therapeutic counseling. Next, we have Beyond the Walls. So Beyond the Walls is a program that provides transitional coaching for youth 16 to 26. So I was lucky enough to work right next to this program in my building, and I got to meet some of the youth, and they're awesome, and I got to meet the independent living coaches who are super awesome as well. And these independent living coaches help the youth and young adults figure out anything in between building a resume, doing their taxes, making sure they have enough money for rent, or like finding places to rent. Anything that involves independent living. Beyond the Walls really helps so many young adults and teenagers. Now we're going to be talking about what I was doing with my internship. So I was the support line intern at Shiloh House. And so I would answer phones. That was one of the biggest parts. And I would answer phones and help families find resources from anything in between rental assistant, hotel vouchers, bus vouchers, supervised visitations for parents who do not have their kids and are trying to get them back, so they're usually court-ordered, residential services, respite services, in-home therapy, and parenting classes. Let's talk about what a day in the life of a Shiloh House support line intern looks like. So every day when I get into work, I would check voicemails, document each voicemail, what time they were received, what they were about. Usually we would get 7 to 10 voicemails because I would only be working 2 days a week. So I would check those. In addition, I would check web submissions. And so I would have to log everything that is received from Shiloh House. So that was also pretty difficult to maintain because there were so many different voicemails, different calls, different web submissions. There was a lot of people who are needing these resources. So sometimes it could become pretty overwhelming. But I mean, I enjoyed it. It made the time go by fast. Let's see. So I would read all the web submissions, log them in the database tracker, find specific resources that meets the needs of each caller. Let's see. Oh, so then I would find the resources and send out personal emails to each and every family who calls if I couldn't connect them with a Shiloh House opportunity. I would lead them elsewhere. Let's see. I would also be in charge of completing the billing templates for the parenting classes. So I observed a parenting class every Wednesday, which I thought was super cool because I got to pretend I was a parent, and I would go in there and it would be a 2-hour class, and I got to learn a lot about kids and how to parent. So one day that'll definitely come in handy. It already does for my current job. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Next, we're going to talk about my supervisor, Regina Patton. I cannot say enough good things about Regina. Right when I had my first interview with her, she was kind, respectful. She made me feel welcomed, and I definitely really enjoyed having her as my supervisor. That's why I put this picture here. She's the world's best boss. But so Regina helped me when I had questions. She was always there when she needed me. She would ask me and make sure that I was taking care of myself, because in this field, self-care is very important, which I thought was very, very sweet of her and is great as a supervisor to do for your employees. So I'm going to miss her very much, and we've already talked and we're going to stay in touch. So thank you, Regina. Okay, so some of the challenges I had with the internship is staying organized. So like I said, there's so many different calls, web submissions, voicemails, that sometimes it became overwhelming. I like to document everything on paper, so I made different spreadsheets and keep them all in a binder, and so that seemed to help. The longer I was interning, the better I got at being organized. Let's see, and so remembering all the services, okay, so it's cut off right there, but remembering all the services that require certain requirements. Sometimes when I pick up the phone and they're asking about residential or therapeutic services, there's certain things I need to say for each call if they're not a DHS case. And so I would get confused sometimes, and I just have to say, I'm an intern, let me speak with my supervisor and I'll get back to you. So that was always kind of a challenge, but like I said, I would get better as the internship went on. And then talking with people on the phone. At first, I was very nervous about it because I never have done anything like it before, but then I got way more comfortable the more I spoke with more people. And it made me realize how kind and understanding people are. So my most important takeaways. To begin, I became more confident on the phone. I was able to see what goes on behind the scenes when working with prevention for at-risk families, which I never knew how much goes in to prevention and behind the scenes, and I think that's so important. In addition, working with adults and CEOs. Like I said, I got to meet the CEO. When it comes to working with adults, I've been a nanny the last 10 years, so it was really nice working with adults. It gave me some more practice. I definitely loved all the employees at my location. They were all super kind and fun. And then data entry skills. I became way better at inputting things on Google Sheets. Google Sheets was pretty hard for me at first, but then now I'm feeling like I'm getting much better at it. I watched a lot of YouTube videos how to work it, and so I became better there as well. So my future goals. So I've always wanted to work with kids. And so when I did this internship, I wasn't one-on-one with kids, so it was different than what I wanted. But now I've found out that I really want to work with prevention. So that's why this little girl has her hand up. Prevention to help kids in the younger side build their confidence, build their mental health so that they don't get to a point where they do have to get into trouble and have at-risk behaviors. So I really want to work with prevention. And in addition, I'd love to work behind the scenes and with kids. So a little bit of both. I feel like that's a happy medium. All right, so I highly recommend you interning at Shiloh House. I can't say anything bad about this experience. It was all great. I learned so much. And if you have an upcoming internship class, I highly recommend you speak and try to get an interview with Shiloh House. They have tons of different positions for interning, and thank you so much for listening. I hope you're intrigued and want to learn more about Shiloh House. And I want to say to Shiloh House, thank you so much for all you do for our community. And thank you for having me as an intern. Bye.